In this video, we'll be looking at this Wavlink USB-C triple display universal docking station. This is the specific model here, but this is just the box that it comes in. They did send this in for review, but as always, it does not affect our opinion in any way. So first and foremost, we'll just go ahead and get into the box here. Alright, so this is everything that we get in the box. We have the docking station itself, power cable and adapters, and then a USB-C cable, as well as a quick start guide, driver download links, and then a little safety information plan for this. So pretty basic here. I do think it is interesting that this USB-C cable has the ability to actually screw into the back of the docking station. So that's a little bit unique. You can see that there's the USB-C cable. And then this part actually, again, it kind of screws into the back of the docking station just to make sure it doesn't get removed without you wanting to or fall out or anything like that. So this is the cable that actually plugs into your computer, but I think it's very cool that it secures the docking station like that. We also have this pretty large power brick here, which is of course going to be what powers the docking station, all the devices and everything connected to it, as well as your computer. So it makes sense we have a pretty big power brick here. And then this cable will of course plug into the back of the power brick, and that's what will plug into the wall. So it's pretty standard what's included here, but we'll go ahead and look at the docking station itself. So you can see it's pretty decent size. It does have the Wavlink logo on the top. The front here we have a DisplayLink logo, which you will need this DisplayLink drivers depending on the device you're using. For example, using multiple monitors on a MacBook will require using those drivers, but we'll get into that later. On the front of the docking station, we do have a 4-pole earphone jack, which you can use for connecting microphones or headphones. And then we do have 4 10 gigabyte ports, 2 of which are USB-A, and then we do have 2 USB-C ones as well. So again, just for connecting a variety of devices. And on the back here, we do have quite a bit more ports, of course. We do have a nice power switch. Then we have the 20 volt in, which is of course what that power brick is for. This is the part that connects to the computer. As you can see, we have a little screw hole for connecting that USB-C port. Then we have our connections for the displays. We do have 3 HDMI ports, as you can see, and then 2 display ports. So you are able to connect, I believe, up to 3 monitors, but we'll test more of that later. And then we do have a LAN port as well. This is up to 1 gigabit per second, so pretty fast up to gigabit internet, and will allow you to use a wired connection. So of course, the best part of all of this is that it does connect all these different peripherals using just this one USB-C cable. So the idea is you connect everything, as I'll show you, and then using just this one USB-C cable, everything will be connected to your laptop. So you're able to connect multiple displays, several printers or other USB peripherals, keyboards, mice, all that, a wired connection, and it will also power your computer. So doing all that using just this one device is the whole purpose of it, and we'll go ahead and get it all set up and show you how it works. Alright, so we have the docking station and the monitors all set up. As you can see here, we have a full setup all based solely on this docking station. I'll go show you that closer in a second here, but we do have the 3 monitors. As you can see, we have a pair of speakers, we have a webcam, we have a little printer down there, and then we have an Ethernet cord. So all that is set up and running through one simple USB-C cable, which is plugged directly into the MacBook. Alright, so this is just a closer look at the actual setup here. We do have this USB-C cable on the back here plugged into our MacBook, and that's what's running the whole setup. So every single peripheral is connected via that one cable, which is really cool. The front 2 USB-C ports are being used. One is for powering our portable monitor over here. The other one is for using this Ethernet adapter. So this is only capable of gigabit Ethernet, and I have a 2 gig connection, so I will use this USB-C cable to kind of bypass that. So using this adapter, it's actually from the same brand, you're able to use the USB-C port but get faster internet as an exchange. So if you have less than gigabit Ethernet, you can use the Ethernet port on the back instead. You'll still have that USB-C port free. We do have the 2 free USB-A ports in the front still here. And then on the back here, we have 2 USB-A ports being used. One is for a webcam, and the other is for the printer, as I said. We have the power cable going into the back of this. And then we do have the 3 monitors connected all via HDMI. One thing to note is that the connections are a bit finicky with monitors in terms of the resolution and what they support and all of that. The DisplayPorts support significantly lower resolution than the HDMI, which is interesting. The only port that supports actual 4K is this HDMI 3 port here, the kind of alt one it's labeled. So this is what I'm using with the ultra-wide monitor here. That is what's connected to that HDMI 3 port, which is interesting. So if you were to connect this cable to a different port, it would not work at all with an ultra-wide monitor just because the resolution isn't supported. The full list of support is all here, as you can see, so it's a little bit finicky depending on your setup, but it does lay it out pretty nice in the user manual, as you can see. So again, DisplayPort only supports a 2K resolution, but that one HDMI port supports 4K, so that also works with an ultra-wide monitor, which is nice. So you can see the full resolutions here. The one we're using is the first one here, so there's the HDMI 1, 2, and 3, and the resolutions that it supports. So again, it just depends on your setup. If you do have 3 4K monitors, you will not be able to use them at the full 4K resolution. It only supports up to 1 4K monitor and 2 2K monitors or something similar to that. So again, my ultra-wide monitor only works if I'm using that one specific port. And if you do the wrong layout of port or something, it also won't work. So you do need to actually look at the manual, look at the setup for it, and then choose accordingly. So it's not too bad, but you will need to make sure you're using the right layout and the right ports for each monitor. In addition to setting up the monitors correctly, you will need to install some software. So for Mac, you install this DisplayLink software here, which I have ready. So Mac inherently doesn't support more than one external display, But if you are using it with this software, then it will go ahead and will use all three. So it has some little workarounds, and it actually works perfectly using those three monitors, despite Mac not actually supporting that. So this software you have to install. It works pretty well. There's not any issues with it. It opens automatically when you turn on your computer, and everything just kind of works as it's supposed to, which is really nice. You're also able to kind of click and turn on and off the monitors, and then adjust the brightness and the color temperature and things like that. So some pretty nice software overall. I haven't had any real issues with it, but it's something you will have to install. As you can see, the resolutions here that we're getting. So again, because I'm using that correct port, we are running at the full 3440 by 1440, which is nice, and it's even at 100 hertz. In the manual, it says it only supports 60 hertz, but at least right now it says I'm getting 100 hertz on this monitor, which is nice. The other ones are running just at 60, but that's totally fine. Getting this one at 100 hertz is super nice. So assuming that's actually correct, which I think it is, then that's really nice that I didn't necessarily expect to get out of this hub. And so yeah, everything's working pretty nicely, as you can see. It definitely requires some setup. You have to do it correctly, as I said. You have to install some software. But after you've done all that, it's as simple as really just plugging in this one USB-C cable to your computer, and everything will just work seamlessly. You will need to install the same software if you're wanting to use it on a different computer. So for example, if I plug it into my Windows laptop right now, it won't just work. Only one monitor works for some reason. So you will need to install some drivers on whatever device you're using. But after they're installed, of course, it's really as simple as unplugging this USB-C cable, plugging it into a different computer, and then everything will just work. Your monitors will turn on, the speakers and webcam and printer and everything will all just be connected automatically, all via one USB-C cable. It also does charge your laptop, as I mentioned earlier, which is super nice. So you really just need to have the one cable plugged into your laptop to have everything connected, which is awesome. So especially if you're switching computers often, it's super convenient to have this hub. It does require a bit more setup than I'm used to, specifically having to use some really specific HDMI ports, and even the fact that DisplayPort supports a lower resolution than HDMI, which is very uncommon, is a bit odd. So those little things are small details that I wish were potentially a bit better, but again, just following the manual, you can get a pretty good setup out of this. If you have one 4K monitor and two 2K ones, which I think is already a lot for most people, then you're going to be totally fine. So after it's all set up and you have the software installed, it's really just plugging it into your computer and everything kind of works seamlessly. It's definitely a great way to connect many different devices to your computer using just one USB-C cable.